I pressed the wrong button.
Good.
You can't hear it.
I sure you guys, can you hear us now? Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now?
Hold on.
Hello?
We're pausing. We don't know if we're being heard. I tried something
You
new.
can't hear it. Yeah, you can hear it.
We can hear you. Okay, so hey everybody, it's Brad and Will from the Weekend Homestead. I'm not from the Weekend Homestead, but Will is. And doggone it, we have got quite a show planned for you, and it's going to be chilly. It's chilly, guys. We're talking about all things cold weather, and I figured who better than a northern Minnesotan, Wisconsin dude who's been there since older than dirt to talk about things cold. How are you this evening, brother, sir?
I am great. How are you doing? Can you guys hear me good? 5x5? Everything good?
I'm checking my levels right now, and it looks like you have your own dedicated audio line, so it shouldn't sound weird for the participants tonight.
So we solved all of our problems from last week. Sorry, everybody. We're trying out new technology. We're trying to make some cool things for you guys. Just ended up where it was all right.
Bam. I figured it out, and it was actually not as hard as I was making it. So those are the nice problems. You know, I hate, technical or even farm-wise, anything, when you get like a problem in your life, the very worst problems are, I hate the ones that all of a sudden just randomly fix themselves. Like if you got an engine problem and it's like making a sound or something, and then poof, all out of nowhere, it just starts running right again. Those kind of things make me nervous.
The worst is when you go to like the shop and all of a sudden, like, you're like, no, it's making this sound, or the light is on, or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, boom, it's gone. So
yeah, computer problems are like that too, man. Dear Lord, I can't stand that. So here's the thing, guys. Tonight, here, let me call up the graphic. Take a look at this. Tonight, we're dealing with stuff when it comes to equipment, when it comes to how you're going to deal with the cold weather. We are moving to a place that is not like Ohio. So let's start out, let's start out easy. Let's start out, we're going to get to equipment, we're going to get to some other stuff. But cold weather gear for your body. What are the essentials? When we're talking 0 degrees is different than -20. Now, of course, I'm sure you're not going to go out in -20 unless you have to, feeding the animals or whatever. But go ahead and educate me.
oh boy. So you and I have been talking about this, and your missus and I have had a conversation about this, and I think my best way to describe it is you're not going to like the Yukon in 1840, you're moving to Wisconsin. So, it's not as bad as it really seems. Everybody, Wisconsin tends to be the butt of the joke of, hey, here's what the deal is, or there's the Grumpy Old Men movie, and, it's just, if you're going to Wisconsin, it's cold and everything else. It's actually not that bad. There's a couple simple things.
So, hold on 1 second, though. Not that bad is a variable that is probably different for people that, say, live in Alabama to, say, Vermont. Not that bad is different, because I'll tell you what, man, living in Florida, you get the 100-degree weather a little bit, not all the time, but the humidity is far different than in Louisiana. You get 100 degrees in Louisiana and you're dying. So even if the temperature is the same, not that bad is going to be an opinion, right?
I guess, because if you look at Arizona, people who live in Arizona, it's like, oh, the heat's not that big of a deal there. It's not that hot or whatever it is. And in all reality, it's hot in Arizona. Trust me, I get it. It's hot there. So here's the phrase that I tell everybody who has to deal with cold weather. And I'm not a cold weather expert, but I've been living in Wisconsin and Minnesota for almost all of my life. So I know cold. And it's wet is cold. If you can remember that phrase, wet is cold, you'll make it through life.
Here we go. Wet is cold. Wet is cold.
So if you can keep yourself dry, which means what the biggest problem people have in Wisconsin, I think, is they put on too much clothing, they put on too much whatever, go outside, get sweated, and then they're out there for a long time and their feet get cold or their back gets all sweaty and then their arms get cold or their gloves get wet or all that kind of stuff. And I'd have to say that's probably where most people run into the problems is when their gloves get wet, when their socks get wet, feet get cold, hands get cold. That's kind of the beginning of it. I find it funny that we're in the middle of the heat wave here in the Midwest and we're talking about winter cold stuff.
But what do you mean? Okay, well, because, think about it like this. I'm getting ready to headlong into this. We're moving straight into it, and I don't want to be the going, we got to find jackets that work here. Somebody get us to the place. We want to be prepared in advance. So, yeah. Well, I can see you got like a little bead of sweat going there. What's a heat wave for you, brother? Like 75 degrees?
Yeah, I think it's 75 and sunny out today.
Woo!
No, it's in the 80s or 90s. Let me check the weather app. It's not too bad, actually.
See, 80s, I don't mind 80s. 90s, I don't like. So maybe I'm heading to my end-all, be-all climate, because I don't mind the cold so much.
See, the thing is the cold isn't really a big deal. I honestly think the cold is not the problem. Where I think the problem in Wisconsin is the bugs in the summertime. That's what gets me. I love the fall and the winter. No bugs, throw a coat on, maybe some long johns if it's cold or whatever it is, and, everything is great. In the summertime, you can only take so much clothing off, and then you got to cover everything that's not covered with clothing with bug spray. That's really what it comes down to. Like last weekend, I think we used up a can of bug spray between everybody who was up there, just, spraying for mosquitoes and the black flies and that kind of stuff. There's a period of time in the summer, probably between like June 15th and August 1st, where the bugs are just ick.
Okay, well, let's get back to the cold, because bugs in summer, great, I get it. Trust me, I know bugs. We lived in Florida, and oh my gosh, they'll carry you off. And the snakes, that is one thing I do not miss is poisonous snakes, man.
Snakes and Wisconsin for you.
Huh?
Lawyers and that kind of stuff, but that's it.
You got what now?
I said there's no snakes in Wisconsin other than a couple lawyers here and there.
Well those, yeah, let's just say there's a lot of places to hide the bodies. Whatever. Anyway, but snakes, I got snakes. So let's talk cold, because now basic stuff. I mean, here in Ohio, I have not had to have long johns on except one time, and that was like in the negative 10, 15 range. And then you've got, a t-shirt on, and then your shirt, and then a thick coat, something like that, some good muck boots and some good gloves, you're good to go. Maybe if it's really like just blowing like crazy, a balaclava, but that's only if you're out working, like plowing the snow. What different am I going to need to expect?
Well, okay, so let's talk about your vehicles for a second, because that was one thing that we talked about before. On clothing-wise, I think you're good. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, you need heated socks, and you need this, and so you'll figure it out real quickly, quite honestly. I mean, I think a good pair of gloves, a good hat, and a good, comfortable pair of long johns that will wick the moisture away from you, because wet is cold.
Is cold.
That should be the sound effect. Hi, Claire.
Oh, hi.
No, there she is. Smile. Hi, honey. Okay, so wet is cold. Wicking clothing. Now, is this like the, what do they call that? The Under Armour stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly. I have a set of Under Armour long johns. I have an Under Armour top. And that's basically it. Actually, we have two sets, because what you do is you wear one set and then you hang one up on the clothesline inside the house, and it dries out, and you're on to the next thing.
Whoa, clothesline inside the house. This is new to me.
Well, you can't hang your clothes outside in the wintertime.
Well, don't you have a dryer?
Yeah, but why run the dryer when you got a wood stove going? You could just hang them on a rack or something like that in front of the wood stove.
That makes perfect sense.
Just saying.
Hey.
If we're talking about, running the dryer is great and everything like that, but why not just buy the $3 rack at Walmart or wherever and hang your long johns and whatever else and your gloves on that when you come inside? The next time you go out, they're all nice and toasty warm and dry. You put them back on and boom, you're back in.
Well, and for us, we've been doing that with our boots forever. But I don't have Under Armour. I mean, it's new to me. I'm going to have to get into the mode. So how much more time does it take to get ready in the morning? 5 minutes?
Well, I mean, when my wife are getting the kids ready to go outside, it's like they're getting ready for extended deep sea diving. So they got to, put on all the gear and everything like that. For me, I'm lucky if I put shoes on. I wear flip-flops outside. I think there's a video, if you go back to our maple syrup videos, there's a video of me tending to a bonfire outside, and I forgot that I had flip-flops on and no socks. And people are like, "You're standing outside in the snow with no shoes or socks on or anything like that? Are you crazy?" But once you get used to it, you're used to it. I make sure I always have a good pair of gloves. That's the biggest thing. Is just make sure you have a good pair of gloves, and that's it. So
the advice that I've been getting from a lot of others, and I'm seeing it come up in the chat, is get the deep cold weather boots, the muck boots.
Yeah, a good pair of boots is good always to have. Again, if you can make sure your feet stay dry, I'd say you don't necessarily have to worry about it because you can always throw 2 pair of socks on and you're good to go.
All right, so different advice. I'm hearing you though.
Yeah, I look at it from a budget standpoint. Yeah, you could go out and buy a $150 pair of boots or even a $100 pair of boots and they'd be super nice. But why not just wear a regular pair of boots and 2 sets of socks? Because as long as you can keep your feet dry, you'll stay warm.
I guess that's probably the trick, is finding that balance between not sweating when you work and not having too much to keep it warm, blah blah blah, cold. You got to find that nice balance.
Right. I mean, personally, one thing I recommend to people is keep an extra sweatshirt in your car, keep an extra pair of gloves in your car, keep an extra pair of socks in your car, and put them in a plastic bag and just throw them in the trunk. That way, where people get in trouble is not 50 feet from their house, shoveling snow or working in the barn or whatever it is. It's you're driving down the road and you end up in the ditch accidentally because you hit some ice or something like that, and you're stuck out there for a while and you're not prepared. It goes back to the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. So just have an extra pair of socks or an extra pair of gloves or, that kind of stuff in your car and you'll be fine.
Well, and I'm totally about that. We have our what we call bug out bags, our preparedness bags. And we're going to be analyzing those very, very closely now because of our temperature changes, and we want to make sure that all that's there. How often, you're talking about skidding into the road and stuff like that, and we drive in the snow here, and I've not had a problem yet. I mean, there's a couple times where it's not your fault. You start to slide, and then you're just along for the ride. How is it more often up there, or is it just, weird stuff happens in the snow, or don't they clean the roads right, or what's the deal?
It's the bigger one is, I mean, for the most part, you're good to go. The only problem you run into is on some of the country roads between you're on a main artery and then all of a sudden you're on this gravel road going down towards wherever. Because I know you guys are out there a ways.
Yeah.
They have some icy patches and stuff like that because they scrape it clean, but they don't go in a city, in a metropolitan, they scrape it down to the concrete and then put salt and chemicals down and make it perfectly dry and everything like that. In the county, in the country, it's like, hey, just get the snow out of the way so I can get my truck through, that kind of thing. So
yeah, so get a winch for every vehicle, or a winch.
I would love to bring you to Wisconsin and just you guys are gonna stick out like sore thumbs with the winches and the 16 coats and 5 gloves, and everybody else can be like on a light sweatshirt, it's only like 25 degrees outside, right?
Well, no, 25. I'm cool with 25. It's just that negative that starts to make me go, all right, and I need to pay attention.
You got to think about things like, okay, so if I was going to recommend somebody moving to Wisconsin to think about something, a moderate pair of boots, some good socks, good gloves. The thing about gloves is there's 2 types of gloves. The really heavy, thick ones, like you get yourself a nice pair of choppers or something like that you don't have any dexterity with. And then you got to get some gloves that you can work with that you get some dexterity, because at some point you're going to have to do stuff with animals, you're going to have to do something with whatever, and you're either going to have to take your big gloves off and use bare hands, or get a set of gloves that's kind of halfway between, the Arctic wrap and, little hand.
So stuff. Look at the Thinsulate kind of stuff.
Absolutely. That's a good brand of product. Go to like a Fleet Farm or a Tractor Supply when the hunting season comes along and they got all the specials on that stuff. The other thing too, a little trick that I do is, so the veins run on the top of your hand, right? Well, what I'll do is I'll get those little hand warmer things, and 50 cents or 99 cents or whatever it is for 2 of them. And you put them in your gloves and you put them on the top of your hands, whatever, and it keeps your hands warm. And when you're done, you throw them away.
And a little trick with those heat warmers too. that a lot of people don't know that they're pretty much the same thing as an oxygen absorber. So if you are into preparedness and you're, doing the Mylar bags and stuff like that, it's the exact same thing, but they're much, much less money. Get them at the end of the season, and we were picking them up for 10 cents a piece.
Yeah, no, it's little things like that. Like in your car, throw a set of hand warmers. So if all of a sudden you got to get out and change the battery, or you got a problem outside your car, or whatever it is, just throw them on. But for the most part, it's not the Arctic tundra. We're not ice road trucker guys, driving in Alaska, worried about polar bears and grizzly bears, and killing a seal so we can crawl inside of it to stay warm and stuff like that.
Oh my gracious. Okay, so let's talk equipment, because I think you guys in the chat, and especially you will, have helped me narrow down what it is that I'm pretty much targeting for equipment that I think I want to have as my starter equipment out there. Now, in Ohio, we don't have engine block warmers. We don't have those things because it doesn't really get that cold enough to mess with them. Talk me through the concerns with a tractor, okay? I mean, I know that the concerns are different with a diesel and a gasoline tractor. Do you have to mess with the tires? What kind of stuff do you have to do so that when it's 0 degrees and I got to move X to Y, I'm going to be able to do it?
Okay, first let's talk fuel, then we'll talk the tractor.
Cool.
Okay, first one is, so in the wintertime, most diesel vehicles...
Thank you, Debbie.
Is my lighting bad? Is that what it is?
Well, Debbie's been with us from the tech stuff, and she has been the harbinger of why aren't you doing more on lighting and showing people lighting. And we have, but she hasn't been around, so we moved on to farm stuff, sister. We're going to teach you how to milk things soon.
We'll be back to lighting and that stuff shortly. Let's talk about this. So a lot of people don't know this, but in the northern climates, what they do is they run a certain type of diesel fuel for a period of time, and then they run something that is a little bit thinner of a diesel. Basically, it doesn't congeal when it gets cold, which works better. So you have what's called the winter blend of diesel fuel. The only thing I recommend is burn up all of your, because you're going to have diesel on storage on your property for your tractor. What we try to do is burn up all of our diesel fuel by October, and then we buy it again in November or so on. You can buy additives and things like that. The only problem I have with the additives is, just like stable and anything else that you put in your fuel, if you don't put the mix in right, you might not get the result you want and everything like that. So I always recommend just burn up your diesel fuel and, buy some new stuff in November. Make sure you burn through it in your tractor and cycle that stuff through. And then in the springtime, do the same thing.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, the other item on a tractor is, my tractor has engine block heater. So what I'll do is I'll plug in the tractor. Let's say I know in, an hour or two in the midday I'm going to use the tractor for something. I'll go out and I'll plug it in and let it sit there for an hour or two with the engine block heater on, and then go fire it up. But I will tell you that last year it got down to, 5-10 degrees outside. And what I did was I just turned on the plug heater, the glow plugs. I let it sit for a little bit. I let it start up, and then I let it run for like 10 minutes to warm up before I went and did all my stuff. And it started in 10-degree weather, no problem. Even 0-degree weather started, no problem.
Wow.
I'll go one step further even. At one point in time, I had a diesel-powered Jeep Liberty. They didn't make very many of them in 2006. It was a test for diesel, or for Jeep. We got one. We tested it out for a number of years. It was a really cool vehicle. And diesel vehicles historically freeze up in the winter. We were up north, and in the 10-day period that we were up there, it only got above 0 2 days. Most of the days were negative, like somewhere between -20 and -40. Like, it would get up to -10 as the high, but then at night it would be like -40 outside. And that thing sat outside for a couple days in a row. No garage, no glow plugs, no heater, no nothing like that. Went in there, turned the key, let it warm up the glow plugs, and boom, it started right up.
What about oil? What about oil in your tractor? Do you need to change the viscosity from summer to winter?
Some people say you need to. It depends on the tractor that you have. Older tractors, you do have to step that back. On the newer tractors, like give you example, my Kubota is only a couple years old. They actually recommend not changing the oil viscosity, but they do recommend making sure that you change the diesel fuel out. Probably because they're including a block heater with it, and it seems to run pretty good with the block heater. So.
Okay, so other stuff dealing with tractors and just vehicles in general. Do you have to mess with the tires? Do you have what do you have to do?
Some people, well, depending on how good your tires are, you could possibly have to get chains for your tire if you're going to be plowing snow and doing that type of stuff. Because if you have big tires that are bald, they're not going to work very well when they're turning on the ice and the snow when you're trying to plow or snow blow or any of that kind of stuff. So that is something you have to look at. For the most part, some people say, top off the tire pressure and things like that. You're going to want to check that anyways as part of your maintenance. So as time goes along and your pressure decreases in your tires or increases and so on in your tires, you're going to be monitoring that, because my hope would be if you bought a piece of equipment, every time you took it out, you'd check the oil, you'd make sure the tires were okay, you'd grease the certs if you needed to, that kind of stuff, and then you're good to go.
So tires, gotcha. Oil check, transmission fluid. I've never seen anybody changing that stuff.
Yeah, no, they're usually pretty good at that. I would say one thing you do want to look at is, depending on the tractor, the grease inserts. Some people will run a little bit different of a grease. I'm trying to think what it is. It's like SC50 or something like that is what it's called. It's a grease that you use in tractors that'll allow it to work better in colder temperatures. But you never run your tractor cold. If you're going to use it, fire it up, pull it outside, let it run for a little while and warm up. A warm, toasty tractor is a happy tractor, and it'll treat you well through the wintertime. If you keep taking care of it, it'll always take care of you.
Excellent. And don't forget, the most important thing is wet is cold.
Wet is cold. It doesn't matter where you are. Just think about it. Wet is cold. Have you ever gotten wet and then there's a breeze and you get cold? Water causes your body to lose heat faster than anything else. So stay away from the water.
Stay away from the water, so no ice fishing. That's out.
No, we're going ice fishing. I'm going to take you ice fishing at some time.
Can we make the hole with fireworks?
We probably could work something out. Fireworks, actually, let's change gears for a second. Fireworks in the wintertime.
Pause 1 second. Pause 1 second. For those people who are watching, Will is an expert on pyrotechnics. As a matter of fact, he has done most of the major rock and roll shows for the last ever that rolled through Minneapolis. Everybody from Iron Maiden to Alice Cooper and everybody. So he knows what the heck he's talking about. So when he talks about blowing stuff up, I'm listening.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay, what I was going to say is, in the wintertime, there's less humidity in the air, and because of the colder temperatures, it actually causes the colors to be brighter and crisper than they have during the summer. So if you get a chance to go see fireworks in the wintertime, biggest and best time to see it is like New Year's Eve. A lot of people do fireworks for New Year's Eve and stuff like that. I'll tell you this, that the best fireworks you'll ever see, throw some warm clothes on, sit around the campfire, and then go watch the fireworks out in the snow and stuff like that. It's amazing to watch it reflect off the snow, and the sky is so clear and crisp that the colors are just ridiculous.
Wow. I got to switch gears back. We can talk about blowing stuff up here in a minute, but I saw a comment that was interesting that I'd never heard of, and that comes from the Barn Geek. And it says here, get the tires loaded with beet juice if you can. It's called Rim Guard. That will help with your traction. Beet juice?
I've heard of beet juice. Some people have done window washer fluid. They used to use antifreeze until the antifreeze started wrecking the valve stems and the rims with corrosion. I actually, and you and I talked about this on a previous show, there's a foam material that they're starting to use instead of beet juice, which actually fills the tire, not only adding weight to it, but the other thing that it does is it makes it so the tires don't deflate. They're puncture proof. So that's what we did to our tires. Is I had this foam basically that weighs down the tire, fill it, and then I could stab nails. You could take a knife and walk up to my tractor and stab the tire as many times as you want, and it'll never go flat.
That is really super cool. We did talk about that last week, and that's something I want to put on my list.
Beet juice is a good way to do it, though. The only issue you run into with beet juice is I'm wondering if you'd have an issue with freezing. I don't know what temperature beet juice freezes at.
You got me, man. All I know is that you're supposed to weigh down the tractor tires so you get better traction. And I've seen guys that don't have that much of the ribs, the rubber, the actual tread. I've seen them putting chains on there, but I guess you got to figure out the right balance for the how much weight you're putting on the back, if you're going to be using your front end loader. Oh, that reminds me, in terms of winter maintenance, do you have to mess with hydraulics on a tractor?
Not for, you want it to be warm. You don't want to fire up your tractor and use cold hydraulic fluid through your system and everything like that, because it's really hard on the pump and it's really hard on the fittings and things like that. But for the most part, if you're pumping up your vehicle and everything else, or you're running your vehicle and warming it up, you shouldn't have a problem. Hold on one second there, Brad. Let's try something here. Siri, what temperature does beet juice freeze at?
Okay, I found this on the web for what temperature does beet juice freeze at.
It actually found it. Sorry.
What
Continue.
does it say?
It's pulling it up right now. It lowers the piece by 20 degrees. So it lowers the freezing point by 20 degrees. There you go.
Cool.
12 degrees beet juice starts to freeze, in case anybody's wondering.
For those of our friends in the UK watching.
Yeah, in case you were wondering.
Okay, so got it with, oil, check, hydraulic fluid, check, fuel, check. It sounds to me like you're saying pretty much get the thing started up, let it sit, run for 10 minutes before you do anything with it. Then you shouldn't have any problems. In terms of your tires, go ahead and milk a bunch of beets and squeeze it in there, or get your foam stuff, whatever floats your boat. I'm thinking about aloe. I'm going to fill mine up with aloe juice. We'll see. Wait up here. Let's find out.
I don't know how that would work.
Siri, what temperature does aloe juice freeze at?
I'm fearful of what it's going to come back with.
It's thinking. I don't know. You can keep going.
Checking my sources. Okay, I found this on the web for what temperature does aloe juice freeze at.
Let's go to the website.
We should have a day where we just keep asking Siri questions the whole day.
Why don't we ask the crew? What do you want us to ask Siri? Okay, it says here, this website is horrible. It says 3 degrees.
There you go.
There you go. So what do you want to know, guys? Siri will tell you.
Hey, before we go any further, can I change gears slightly for a second? We'll come back to freezing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a little tech piece I want to talk about and a little shout out because I got a cool opportunity to do something and I want you guys to go check it out if you can.
I do love tech.
So YouTube is now starting a division and starting to people allow them to upload podcasts. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yep.
But podcasts used to be just Stitcher Radio and iTunes were the only ways you could really listen to podcasts. And it was kind of hard because you had to download the Stitcher app or you had to download the iTunes app and then subscribe and do all this other stuff. Now, people who make podcasts, remember how we talked about that automatic service that uploads the stuff to Stitcher and to wherever? YouTube has now been added as of, I think, last week. So your favorite podcasts are now going to start coming to YouTube. So let's say Big Family Homestead and the Weekend Homestead get together and we start making this into a podcast, that we can repost this and then people can download it and listen to it on their phone on the YouTube app.
And for us as content creators, then we get ad revenue.
Absolutely. So I want to post a link here. I just posted a link into the chat. Eric from Garden Fork gave me an opportunity to be on his show, and we did an interview about a lot of different stuff and talked about a couple different things. It's something new, and I'd like you guys to, if you can, just click on the link and just save the link or hit watch later or whatever it is. But basically, we did a show where we got on there and we talked about growing mushrooms and farming and technology and all sorts of stuff. He has a very, very popular, in fact, it's one of the top 5 gardening podcasts on iTunes. So exceptionally popular. I got an interview last week. The link in the piece will take you right to the episode, and you can take a listen to it. If you like that kind of stuff, subscribe. It's a great thing to listen to, especially when you're riding on your tractor or whatever it is. Fun thing to do. He's got, I think, like 200 or 300 episodes, but if you go back, the one I linked to is the link to the show. If you get it, take a listen to it. Kind of cool stuff.
All right. I'm seeing a question to talk about the wind chill, and it actually reminded me of something. I want to talk about tree breaks for wind breaks. But before we do, here, I got something else. Well,
Okay, here's what I found.
hallelujah. Hold on, I did it wrong.
Holy cow, what are we doing?
Stop talking. Siri's listening to you. Oh.
Siri's listening to me?
Shush.
Hello?
Stop it. Every time I gotta press the button.
Siri,
Did it?
set an alarm.
No, wait.
Siri, set an alarm for 4 a.m.
You suck. Siri, what is 0 minus 0?
The answer is 0.
What's the joke, Claire?
What joke? Oh, no. It's, what's, it's 0 minus 1.
Okay, here we go. Is it?
I think.
Siri, what is 0 minus 1?
-1.
Oh, no, it used to be so funny. Oh my
It was,
gosh.
Well, you guys are really funny. Hold on. Siri, set an alarm for 4 a.m.
you messed it up, Claire. Oh my gosh.
I'll find it.
It's over.
Oh,
no,
Mama said
that-
0
you
divided
got it.
by 0.
Here we go. Siri, what is 0 divided by 0?
Imagine that you have 0 cookies and you split them evenly among 0 friends. How many cookies does each person get? See, it doesn't make sense. And Cookie Monster is sad that there are no cookies. And you are sad that you have no friends.
Apple.
Wait. I got one more. Ready? Alexa, set an alarm for 3 a.m. All right, we're good.
All right. Isn't that crazy? Oh my gracious.
So if anybody has an Alexa, basically what it just did was at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, it'll set up an alarm. So in the background, if anybody's got one.
Oh my gracious. Oh, that's funny. That is too funny.
You get it?
I do get it. I'm glad I don't have an Alexa. All right, let's talk cold again because we were supposed to be talking farm stuff, and I like the variety. I really do. But okay, now I'm looking at my property and I'm going, okay, there's going to be issues with weather coming from the west, and I don't want to basically have big old mountains of snow that are going to block me getting in and out of my driveway. And I've seen people will use, different shrubs and trees as windbreaks. What's good, what's not, what grows fast, what's something that's a little more permanent.
Can I tell you one that's actually temporary versus permanent first?
Sure.
Just go to Tractor Supply or Rural King, whichever one is sponsoring us these days. Either of them, of course. They don't know who either. I walked in and I'm like, I'm on the Big Family Homestead Tech Talk. Don't you know who I am? And they're like, no. So
No.
go into the Tractor Supply, get yourself a couple T-posts, and get some orange snow fence. Put it up along your driveway so you don't get the snow drifts. And then in the fall, you just pull the T-post out, roll it back up again, and put it in the barn. And now you don't have to look at it all year long.
Put up the snow fence, says Deno Don. You clearly agree. Now, but you see, I kind of want something that's going to look a little more attractive. I get you, I get you that I'd probably do that in the very beginning so that it would, fix my problem. But I also don't want to spend a lot of money because I've seen you can get some stuff from the agricultural offices where you can literally get the blue spruce trees for like $4 and $5.
Okay. I have a joke, and then I have a funny story.
What's your joke?
First off, if you're looking for something attractive in the yard to block snow, I can always show up and I'll put the fence up for you if you're looking for that. Sound effect for next week.
Gotcha.
Yes, Will, I'm not catching your drift. That's pretty funny. Let's talk about those trees from the extension office because I love that idea. I've even done that idea. Let me tell you a funny story. So I get the piece of paper in the mail from the Wisconsin extension office. It says, do you want to buy trees? You can buy 10 of them for $10. I'm like, 10 of them? Let's buy a whole pile of them. So I fill out the sheet and I mail it in with our check and everything else. And then we get a phone call and they're like, your trees are in. So I have my wife hook the trailer up to
I can see where this is going.
up to the extension office to pick up our trees because I think we're getting a trailer full of trees. And then she goes and does that, goes to talk to my mom, they buy some stuff at Walmart or wherever, and then they come back home and they pull in the driveway and I'm like, hey, where are the trees? And she's like, we got them. And I'm like, there's nothing on the trailer. And she's like, no, you don't understand. And she pulls out this little paper bag and I open the paper bag and there's this little pile of trees in there and they're all like about as big around as your finger and about this tall. And they're just little whips and sticks and stuff like that. And it's just little saplings, tiny little guys. Like some of them are like this tall right here. You know, my phone would have been taller. And there's 30 or 40 of them in this little tiny shopping bag. I sent her with the trailer to go pick them up. And in all reality, they come in that little bag.
Nice.
So I tell you that story to tell you this. The trees are a good idea. Buying them from the extension office is a good idea. They're exceptionally good price. You can buy apple trees. You can buy all sorts of stuff like that. The nice thing about it is you can plant them on your property. You can really do a nice job. But the trees that we planted back when we first bought the homestead, those little trees in the second year that we had it, I think are about 3 feet tall at this point in time and about this big around. You know, bush, everything. Like the stem is like that big around in the bushes.
So seeing that those are like 25 cents a pop, can I get some that are reasonable for like $6 each?
Okay, so let's talk about buying trees inexpensively. There's a home improvement store called Menards, there's a Home Depot, there's Lowe's, they're all over the place. Starting as of the 4th of July, a lot of people don't know this, but they start dropping the price on their trees and their bushes significantly every week until they're gone. The week after 4th of July, I happened to be at the one in Rice Lake, which is halfway between you and I, and they had all the trees at 40% off. I was able to buy 2 Bradford pears and 2 apple trees for 40% off their price, plus they're already discounted, so I think I spent $17 a tree for a full-size 2 or 3 year old pear tree and apple tree.
Okay.
They had pine trees, they had all that stuff. So if you wait till after the rush, you can usually pick up some pretty good stuff. I saw some pine trees there that were in, you know, the 5-gallon or 3-gallon buckets for, I don't know, like $20 or $30 or something like that, which is a good price considering the size that they are.
Well, now here's the thing. We've bought the trees from Home Depot, and we've not gotten any from Menards. We've gotten some from Lowe's, and in our experience, there's only about a half, 50% mortality rate on these beasts. What's funny is that, you know, you've actually done a video on this, but they do give you a warranty on your trees, which I think is kind of funny and cool, I guess. But do those trees make it? Are you finding that you're having success rates with the ones that are late in the season? Because I found that they just don't treat them well. They're at the stores.
Well, I look at it as like the trees, one, if I can get an apple tree that was normally $50 for $17, it's probably worth the risk. The other thing is I've had a 90% success rate.
Wow. What, other than keeping them watered well, what's your success?
When I plant them, I dig it out a little bit and I put a mixture of a small amount of 10-10-10 and lime in the bottom of the hole to sweeten it up a little bit. I cut the root ball, because they're usually root bound pretty good. Slice that at least in thirds to kind of break up the root ball. Get it in the ground and then dump 5 gallons of water on it every other day for the first week, and then in the second week, every third day 5 gallons of water, and then in the third and fourth week, I do twice a week 5 gallons of water, and then by the end of the month, I just do regular watering schedule, and I've had unbelievable success.
Okay, big question. Are you a fall planter or a spring planter?
It depends on the crop. Like, we're going to plant strawberries.
I mean for trees, because there's 2 camps. It seems like you got the camp that says you have to plant just before the freeze. You know, you got to plant it, say, like October-ish, or else you got to wait until, you know, after everything's done in spring.
Yeah, you don't want to plant a tree in November. You want it to be able to take care of it and function. I say the latest to plant trees is probably Labor Day. You know, I wouldn't pass Labor Day in Wisconsin for planting trees. I've never had any success. Like, I had a replacement peach tree last year that we planted in September, and it didn't make it through the winter. But I've had other trees that we planted in July. I mean, whenever you can fit time in to plant a tree and just start taking care of it right away. My only suggestion is in your zone, in your climate, don't go past Labor Day weekend on planting trees.
Well, then that answers a question someone was just asking. And Barn Geek, which I would like to do a shameless plug, these guys are amazing. They have the best barn plans, coop plans, shed plans. They're amazing. They're cheap. They're good guys. Everything is sourced locally. Check them out, barngeek.com. But his statement was, mulch, 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 mulch.
Yes. Well, have you ever seen my orchard? That's exactly what we did. Is I took 2x6s and I made 4-foot by 4-foot boxes around the outside of them. And then what I ended up doing is filling it completely with mulch. So I have 6 inches of mulch over the top of my trees, 4 by 4 by 4. And every tree that I've ever done that with has survived. Even out in the woods, when we planted trees in the woods, I bought cheap mulch and I made a 4-foot circle around the trees and made it super thick and heavy mulch the trees. And I've had better success with semi-dwarf and dwarf trees.
Okay, now this is practical for me because we don't have to deal with that here as much as we will up there. Keeping the deer off of them, how long and what do you do?
Well, if you get a chance to check out my channel, actually, I just did a video. I'll post it in the chat here in just a little bit. I did a video 2 weeks ago where I toured the piece, but I have an 8-foot fence that I put around our orchard. I looked at it as I could make individual fences around each one of the trees, which is what you're going to want to do. But then every year you have to expand those fences because once the trees grow to the end, I have video of the deer nipped all the branches off of whatever was sticking through the fence. So then every year you got to move it. And I thought, why not go through the hassle of putting up one big fence and putting all the trees inside of that space versus when you have 30 trees, making 30 rings that keep progressively getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So what I recommend is if you're only planting a couple trees and it's not a big area or whatever it is, just put a couple of them around the outside of it, probably 4 feet out from the tree, and then monitor it as it gets bigger. And then as it needs to, you keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I say by the 4th or 5th year, you can probably start backing off on the fencing around it because the trees will survive. The only trouble you're going to run into is deer will eat your tree alive, apple trees, fruit trees, all that kind of stuff. So you're definitely going to want to look at that. Where you guys are, I don't know if it's going to be as big of an issue because as much field and as much forage stuff as you have around, you should be good. If you look at our property on an aerial, it's miles and miles and miles of wilderness and then this little opening right in the middle of it where our stuff is. So, I mean, trees, bears, all that kind of stuff are right on us all the time.
So, okay, then for us, maybe just the little metal, I guess, I don't even know, you could probably use that rebar stuff they use to make, to strengthen a concrete. I would think
just by fencing, again, shameless plug for one of our farming stores, but I bought fencing that was 5 feet tall and a spindle of it for, I think it was like $20 or $30. And I bought some T-posts and that's it, you're good to go.
Yeah, no, but 5 feet, deer can jump that, can't they?
Yeah, but deer aren't going to jump that though. See, because if you have a circle that's 5 feet in diameter, a deer is going to look at it and go, I can't jump into that. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to jump, get stuck inside there and be like, I can't get out now. You know, deer just don't do that. But if you have a 5-foot fence around your garden, sure, deer can jump that. But if you have a tree and the space inside there that they can't easily navigate into that space, they're not going to jump that space.
Well, actually, we have a much better security system than that. Because about 2 months ago, I'm sitting here editing video in my room here, and behind me you can see that there's a sliding glass door. Well, behind that you can see straight to the house, to the house's front door, and I'm clicking away, and all of a sudden my daughter Hope comes walking inside the house holding a baby deer, and I'm like, what is going on here? She had a deer. I was completely shell shocked. It had basically laid down in the front yard, and I guess we didn't know anything about how they dealt with this, the mamas, but I guess the mamas will tell them, stay put, they'll go and forage, and then they'll come back and get them and go. Well, we didn't know that. The deer just sat there, allowed her to pick it up. She brought it inside, and fortunately we saw the deer and the mama get back together, so that was really good. So, but my thought is, why not just have Hope hang out in the front yard, and when deer come around, she'll just go pick them up and put them somewhere else. What do you think?
That could work. Even a dog on a run and those types of things won't. I mean, that will help you too. Farm animals help if you have a donkey or you have goats or any of that kind of stuff. That type of stuff helps. But then you got to worry about the goats and the donkeys eating your stuff.
Oh my gosh! Tell me about goats. Right now, we just got our goats tagged because we're moving, and when you cross state lines, you gotta actually have them taken to the veterinarian, have them tagged, make sure that everything's good to go. Well, we did that today, and the funny thing is that we wanted to do some work on the stock trailer, and the lady that's been watching our goats so very, very kindly, she lives pretty far away, and so I'm like, you know what? Here, I got this idea. Yeah, you know what? They closed our case because we talked to the zoning guy. He closed our case, a few days ago, so it's at 0. So even if anybody complained right now, they would start from scratch on a brand new complaint. So it'd be 2 months, 3 months before we even heard about anything. So I'm like, you know what? You guys, I'm keeping my dang goats at my house. We're leaving in 9 days. You can go pound sand. So we've got our goats out in our run-in shed, and they can just, because I'm done with them.
Not like anybody on the internet or anywhere could ever see a video that's describing you actually.
And you know what? You know the funny thing is that we started to make friends with one of the ladies that works there at the zoning office, and she started watching our videos, and I'm like, I don't care. I do not care. I don't think she'll go tell on us because she's really awesome and really sided with us. But it wouldn't matter. The process starts again.
Yep. So just so you guys know, I just posted it in the chat. That video is the one that I talk about the fence and everything else. If you want to see our setup for the piece, that basically is all of it. I know somebody said that they've heard of deer jumping an 8-foot fence. I'll tell you this, deer are inherently lazy in the sense that they're going to find the path of least resistance to get to their food. If they were in a barren desert and there was food inside an 8-foot fence area, they'll jump it. But for the most part, deer aren't going to do that because let's say it's a mama deer and it's a baby deer. That mama's not going to put it in a situation and go somewhere where the babies necessarily can't go. So yeah, deer could probably jump an 8-foot fence, but if there's a million other things to eat in a million different areas, they're going to eat our hostas and tulips and all that stuff long before they get to our apple trees.
Well, and they do really, really dumb things. The church that I worked for is in the middle of a very, very populated area in Cincinnati. And I mean, yeah, there's trees and stuff all around, but there's house trees. Everything's all house and trees. And then you got this church. And I was told that just about a year before I got there, one deer jumped through a plate glass window that was about 8 feet up, jumped through the window, and then proceeded to bleed out in the church as it walked all around inside the church. And I'm like, what motivated you to do that, deer? I mean, I don't know the mind of deer. Maybe you can tell me because you seem to be more in tune with the hoof and the tail.
I will say that, I mean, it can happen. I mean, they get confused or they see a reflection in there. I've heard of a deer charging a sliding glass door because they saw a reflection of another deer during the rut, and the male deer charged the glass and hit the glass and broke it and got into the house that way. I've heard that happening before. I mean, but for the most part, I mean, deer, I'd be more worried about bears. Now, granted, where you are, it's not a big issue. Where we are, it's a big issue. We have problems with bear and stuff even at our property. But deer, for the most part, they're pretty harmless. They're not out to be malice. They get confused very easily. They're kind of, I don't want to say dumb. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean by that.
Bambi would be very offended. So what you're saying is that I don't really have to actually, around my fencing, I don't need actually machine gun nests planted with, troops 24/7. Venison roast? No?
Well, deer hunting, I'll tell you this, that when you're buying your coats, buy yourself a blaze orange coat, because I will tell you this, that in Wisconsin, deer season is a big thing, and if you're going to be out, let's say you go out working in your fields or you're working wherever, even if you're not deer hunting, you are still required to wear blaze orange if you're out in the woods. So let's say you go back by your little creek or you go back on the field or whatever it is, get yourself a nice jacket and then go to the store and buy one of those really cheap blaze orange vests, like the little vest you throw on over the top of a jacket and zip it up. And then during the 10 weeks of deer season or whatever else, throw that thing on and go outside and do that, because it doesn't cost very much to protect yourself and to be seen out there during deer season. You definitely want to be seen.
You see, okay, now people of the chat, I need you to hear me. I need you to hear my heart, because he has waited all this time, and we got 10 minutes in our live chat left, and now he's telling us the things that will save our lives that cost $4. What in the Como Sayama are you doing to me here, Slick?
I'm trying to make sure
my children's lives are at stake, and you want to talk about hydraulic fluid warming up when I could spend $4 and save them from a deer hunter? What?
I'm trying to make sure that you invite me back next week because we can talk about this all next week, which is hunter safety and safe use of a firearm and gun technology and hunting tech and all that stuff. If you're moving somewhere where hunting's a big thing, families do it. It's passed down from generation to generation. I've taken my son hunting. You know, it's just part of the rite of passage of being in Wisconsin, and you just want to make sure that you're covered.
Dude, I got no problem with hunters. I just didn't realize you had to look like, you know, you're working a construction line or else you're going to get shot.
I knew that.
It could happen.
That could happen in your own field, he's telling me.
You just never know. I mean, people. What I know is my safety and my intelligence. I don't necessarily know the intelligence and safety concerns that everybody else has out there. So in that scenario, all of a sudden we end up in a situation where you're trusting, is everybody else in the world smart? And I've seen a lot of reality TV, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy the $4 vest just to make sure. But for my mother-in-law, I got a really nice jacket that has a hood with some horns on it. I send her out to work in the yard on that all the time.
There you go. Here, hold this deer urine for me for just a little bit. So, but actually I wanted to bring up Little Homestead, Franklin, North Carolina, and paint bright colors on the cow so they don't mistake it as a deer. She's a small cow.
I think you'd be okay.
All right.
I'm more thinking about like your property. You have 30 acres now. You don't have a 1 acre property in the woods. You have 30 acres. You've got woods. You've got field. You've got a creek. You've got all this kind of stuff. I'm just thinking about the people around you. Now, granted, I haven't looked at all the mapping around your place to see how much woods and stuff is there. But in our property, I actually have a bin of clothing in the basement. And when guests come during that time of the year, I just dig it out and like, here you go. Here's a coat for you to wear outside. Here's a whatever. And the law is the top half of your body has to have blaze orange. I recommend getting a blaze orange baseball cap or knit cap or whatever you want for the winter time and so on.
Wait. Hold on 1 second though. You told me that if you don't wear Packer colors, then you're in worse trouble.
No. That's when you go grocery shopping into the bar and church. That's where you.
Oh, the bar inside church. Oh my gosh. Am I just supposed to start actually counting my blood as blood beer mix? Is that how that works?
There's like an equation you got to figure out. There's a cheese to beer ratio when you cross the state line that they do a conversion and stuff like that. But you'll be fine.
All right. This is a fat joke, isn't it? Thanks, Will.
I'm just saying it.
See, why can you just say, I'm just saying, and you can say anything you want. I could say you look like Seth Farland's, heroin addict brother, but I'm just saying. Right? Is that how that works?
I think they have larger size. Like if you go to
they've got plus sizes. The store is called Big Bones.
You're not big. You're just big bone. Yeah. What I understood about kids. And it's the meanest thing that they call fat kids is the fact that small children's pants, large ones, used to be called husky. Like, how degrading is that? Like, what kind of pants do you wear? Oh, I wear husky. Well, like, why are you calling the kid fat? That's just not fair.
Husky. No? Well,
Husky pants,
Well, then, I don't know. Sheesh. Big and tall stores. I love my big and tall stores because I can finally breathe.
All right, let's dive back to, I said that to somebody the other day. I was at an event and they're like, oh, what size sweatshirt do you wear? I'm like, well, I really like to wear a medium, but an extra large fits much better.
Yes, exactly. A medium skip,
That guy in a little
coat. Richard!
Please. Oh my God. If you go somewhere, does that make me Richard and you're Tommy Boy?
No, you're way too... sizey to be. You're too husky to be David Spade. He's built like a spade, so whatever,
All right, so let's dive to the chat for a minute since we've completely derailed and everybody's being entertained. It says there's only 15 people in chat right now. Is that correct?
That's because there's only 12 people online.
Oh, the Google's not working right now?
No, I'm just teasing. We've shamed everyone. Everyone's left.
Everybody's like, oh boy, now they're talking about
I know, Claire, the numbers right here.
Get a tarp and oh boy.
I could sing. I mean, we got a.
No.
I got a scythe. We got a. You never know when you're gonna need a scythe behind you.
Are we gonna do the show live sometime, or I just show up at your place, or you show up at my place and we do it live or something?
I think it's a double dog dare. However, I think we're gonna need an hour and a half show. Because in all honesty, it seems like it takes us a good 40 minutes to start loosening up and just having fun.
Right. See, and what I'm thinking is actually, I didn't get a chance to call you ahead of time because I was busy saving that busload of nuns. But if I was ahead of time, I was going to ask you how Skype worked, and then I was going to invite you over to my channel, and we could be silly for a half an hour on my channel. But I don't know how to get Skype to go into OBS. So.
Well, you know, I mean, some of the tech people in the room, you know, I can make you a YouTube tutorial video.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Exactly. Or how about something on Pinterest? 3 easy steps.
No, not Pinterest. Pinterest is horrible.
I know it's horrible. That's why I was joking.
The devil's Pinterest. By the way, Barn Geek, is Barn Geek still in the room? If Barn Geek is still in the room, I have a question. Do you have any plans for a greenhouse? Little side project I'm working on. If you get a chance, link to the channel or subscribe to me. I want to talk to somebody about plans for a greenhouse. We talked about it last week. I'm still working on it. I talked for like 45 minutes last week on my show on the greenhouse idea that we have and trying to figure it out. So I want to see if anybody's got any good plans.
Well, if they have plans for it, I guarantee you they'll be good.
Perfect. Well, Barn Geek, if you're still in the chat or if you're still here, if you haven't been turned off by our clothing and deer. Last week it was deer urine. This week it was fat clothing.
Well, you know, it's all near and dear to my heart. It's who I am. I embrace that man inside me. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny because well, we'll talk about this next week. Let's talk about the Dairy Queen lady next week. Okay, the Dairy Queen lady.
Now, you know, on Instagram I posted something. I'm going to pull it up here so I don't screw it up. But everybody knows that I like ice cream.
Oh.
It's just a thing. You can look at me and you can tell that I like ice cream. But today is Miracle Treat Day at Dairy Queen.
What?
Miracle Treat Day at Dairy Queen. When you buy a treat, like $3 of your Blizzard or $2 of your Blizzard goes to the Children's Miracle Network. So
I'll see y'all later. I got it.
I told the missus that. I'm like, hey, it's for the kids, and I got 2 large malts, so it's all right, you know.
True. All right, listen, guys. We have a minute and change, and then Will's gonna take a couple minutes and switch over to his superhero mode. He's got. Oh yeah. There's an outfit and everything. I believe there's a unitard involved. Be prepared because you might need to censor certain things. But we're going to go over to the Weekend Homestead, and we're going to turn it over to Will here. And he's going to give us a quick rundown of what he's going to chat about. But before he does, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you are. Go to theweekendhomestead.com and give Will some sweet subscriber love.
Can I do the one more shout out and one piece of homework for everybody?
T-minus 30 seconds.
Do me a favor. I'm going to put a link here in the chat. If you're not chatting or anything like that, I just posted it. Just give the podcast a chance. Give me some feedback. Listen to it for 15 minutes. Give it 5 minutes, whatever it is, and see if it's something that you like. I'm talking to Eric about potentially doing it again. He does a really good show. If you're going to do a favor for us, do me a favor and just listen to that podcast and tell me what you thought of it.
TJ Miller, Brad, did you get the internet sorted out up there? We think so. And actually, this is an excellent question because I have not talked to Will about it. I have AT&T. They have told me that they have a way to turn all of our devices, our Wi-Fi, our phones, and our iPads into hotspots, and then we will supposedly be able to log on that way. And I am told the speeds are not good, but good enough to stream. So I don't know. That's what I'm being told.
Let me answer one of your questions there, which is if you have 4G LTE, which is the LTE service, 4th generation internet. Do you remember the show that we did 4 weeks ago where I was in the car and we were talking and doing live stream? I was streaming using my phone as a hotspot to do the live show remotely. So if you have 4G LTE, you'll easily have the data. And the nice thing is that the usage of the data is actually not that much. I only used about 700 or 800 megabytes to stream that show, which sounds like a lot, but streaming HD as you're driving down the highway for an hour and a half.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty good. So
it looks good, like we'll be able to do it. And that'll be it for tonight for us, guys. Will, thank you very, very much. And we're going to be back next week, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I kind of like the mix of just silliness and farm stuff and mixing in a little bit of our tech backgrounds. And, maybe I'll make you like a little, Pinterest, kind of presentation for you to learn how to use Skype on your,
Interest.
So with that, I give you the final word, brother.
As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for everything on the support of both our channels. If you have an idea for a topic for us to talk about, email Brad or myself. My email is will@theweekendhomestead.com, or leave a message or a comment on this video itself, and we'll bring it up. All of the things that we've talked about are ideas and questions that people have sent in. So your support on that side of it helps us out greatly. So I appreciate having me on the show, Brad. It's always fun. I appreciate everybody who's in the chat. We're going to go live on my channel right after this. We'll have some fun, talk about a lot of stuff. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
All right. Good night, guys. Thank you. Bye.